Are you ready for rapid fire?
If I had the bell, I'd be ringing it. Bing, 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 bing.
All righty then. Let me get to my questions here.
See, I asked me if I'm ready.
I wasn't ready. So Marcus Freeman told Bryan Driskell he wants to get young, talented players who lack experience on the field this season. Something, we and fans and everyone have been clamoring for a while. So here are a couple quotes that Bryan had from Marcus Freeman. Quote, "That's going to be my challenge to the coaches. I want to make sure we're developing these guys that might not be the first ones that go out there, but we need to get them game experience. This year, you can mandate it early in the season saying, listen, we're going to roll guys. We're going to script it out that guys are going to be in the game. I've been a position coach where it's like, yeah, we'll fill it out when we get him in when it's right. You don't get them in. No, we have to script it out and hold ourselves as coaches to be accountable. So when we're going to get them in the games," end quote. So Vince, what is getting these guys in? What does it look like to you?
Well, I love the fact that he is at least aware of the fact that in his first year, it was, I need the best guys on the field at all times, and we just need to, win each game and blah, 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 right? Because from a coach's standpoint, when it's off season, right, and you're thinking about the season, you're like, yeah, man, I got to get these young guys in. But when it's nut cutting time and you're in a game and you want to win, you've got your best on the field, right? And so you do have to be very deliberate about getting young guys in the game. And football is obviously different than baseball, right? But in football, you can give a guy a series, right? Like, hey, you're going to get the third series. Maybe you're going to get the ninth series or something along those lines. You can't put in a bunch of young guys all at the same time. Right. You have to piece it together.
We saw Marcus Freeman do that a couple of years ago. And that, when he was defensive coordinator. And that was when a lot of the big, offensive plays for the other team tended to happen, it seemed like.
That's
when
fair.
they threw a bunch of young guys out there together.
And you have to be careful of it.
Right.
But you also have to be very deliberate about it, because once the whistle blows and you're between the white lines, you're not thinking about, getting other guys in the game unless you have it written down in front of you, and that's the plan for the game, right?
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Okay, well, you've got the plan, but if the game isn't going the way you want it to go, do you stick to that plan or not?
Right. And that's like, we've both coached. We both, football, baseball, predominant, like baseball is where most of my experience was. I had a kid, real fast kid, was not a great bat though. And, I would have liked, if he was going to hit, can you get a bunt down here and there and maybe leg it out, or, he was an outfielder as well. And he was probably the fifth or sixth outfielder in terms of hitting ability.
Right.
So, but he's got all this speed. So what role can I find for him? Perfect world. You're a pinch runner. I'm going to put you at first base because you got all this speed. Now you're going to steal bases for me. Like if my big first baseman gets on, I'm going to put you on. You're going to steal bases. Well, the problem was he didn't know the signs. He could never remember the signs. And I would stand there giving him the steal sign
over and over. Oh, it's so frustrating.
Go. And so
steal.
Now you eliminate that job from him.
Right.
But so he ended up like he was fast. He was still a really good outfielder. So it went to like, that is what I can trust you with the most. Mm-hmm. And, so like that to me is, you eliminate, you obviously want to bring all these guys along, and, you want them to know as much as possible, but it also has to boil down to what is the thing that I can minimally trust you to do your job, and not have to worry, about some huge breakdown. And I think that that's what you've got to, do with these guys, whether it's, like a pass rush situation where you can just put the guy in and go, this is the situation you're going to be in. Go after the quarterback as hard as you can. Or we're going to put you out here. You're going to run a go route, or we're going to put you in here. You're going to run a deep post, regardless of anything, or like if it's a guy in the secondary whom, like maybe he's not necessarily comfortable running some zone stuff. It's like, okay, lock on your man, man to
Right.
man. You're going to be on
Backyard
whatever
football.
whatever the minimal thing is. I think that's your starting point. Whatever the minimal thing is, you can trust them to do. And again, based on some situations. But just like you said, I don't want a bunch of young, inexperienced guys out there together. It's like, you have one, and then you've got a bunch of veterans around him, because then they can always ask the veterans as well, like what's going on? What am I doing? That kind of thing.
Yep.
So it's whatever I think the minimal thing that you can trust them to do is your starting point. And then as they are able to learn more and accumulate more, you can put more on their plate and trust them to do other things.
I love it. And you got to be smart about it. You want to put these guys in a position to be successful, right? And that's not just garbage time. You need to put them in, at other times if you want them to be ready for next year. You can't go year to year and have a bunch of green guys going into the start of the season. You have to give them something, whether it's substantial special teams play, defensive play, offensive play, whatever the case may be. But you have to be deliberate about it, and you have to do it with intelligence.
Right. So the matchups have been announced for the inaugural ACC-SEC men's and women's basketball challenge this upcoming season. Notre Dame men are going to play at South Carolina November 28th. The women are going to play at Tennessee the following day. What do you think of these matchups, Vince?
I missed the ACC Big Ten challenge. I'm not going to lie. The SEC thing is a little weird for me. I'm not used to it by any stretch of the imagination. From the men's side, I don't know anything about this men's team, and I'm talking about Notre Dame. Like, we don't know what these guys are going to look like. So I don't know what that matchup looks like. You know what I mean? And so when I saw the men's matchup, I was like, okay, whatever. I don't, it's not like I'm going to travel down to South Carolina to watch the game. So, it doesn't really do anything for me, so to speak, right? And I don't know. As far as the women are concerned, I have a lot of expectations for the women, right? And when I think of the Tennessee women's program, I think of the 90s. I don't think they're that anymore, if I'm not mistaken, right? They're not the 90s Tennessee, what they used to be under Pat Summitt.
They went to the Sweet 16 last year, but they're not going to Final Fours like they used to. Yep.
Okay. So it'll be a good matchup, one that Notre Dame should win. So, okay, cool. Yeah, it's a clash of two big brands in the women's game. So I think that part's cool. I do think that part's cool. That would be good. But I think Notre Dame wins that game, and they probably should win it by double digits.
And probably the reason they didn't get South Carolina as well is because they're already playing South Carolina in the game in Paris to start off the season.
That's a massive matchup. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, because that's like, with this, I do like some of this newness, because we will start to see some new opponents for both the men and the women because of this. Like you said, you missed the ACC Big Ten. Well, how many more times did we need to see Notre Dame against Michigan State or Notre Dame against Illinois? It's like we saw those.
That was the best game of the year last year was Notre Dame, Michigan State. What? Come on, man.
Yeah, that's very true. But it's like, I do like the new, and I think that they'll definitely, like on the women's side, they'll definitely capitalize on Notre Dame versus South Carolina, Notre Dame versus Tennessee, and, whoever, the teams end up, being at the top of the conference over the next few years. If we start to see some newcomers, they will capitalize on that as much as possible. But yeah, I mean, it's like this will be the 31st meeting between the Notre Dame and Tennessee women, and the Irish have won 8 out of the last 10 matchups between the two. And on the men's side, it'll be the 16th time, but they haven't played since 1984. So again, it'll be kind of cool to see some newness, like
new
SEC
blood.
basketball, whatever. But where's Notre Dame right now? Like, we got to build it back up again. So
yeah, they're nowhere is where they are. So they are literally an enigma wrapped in a question mark, or whatever the phrase is, right? I mean, you have no idea what you're going to get from Notre Dame basketball men this year. None.
Right. And going back to what we were talking about here just a second ago with, getting the young guys on the field. Where was it? Chi-Town said, sorry, coach, best players should be on the field, blow teams out. There'll be plenty of time to get guys reps in garbage time. And
those aren't real reps, though.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, yeah, they'll get out there and they'll be able to play. And I've got no problem with that. Where I'm not talking about like you keep the starters on the field all game if you're blowing guys
Right.
out. But yeah, it's a lot different. The complexion of the game, the way you call it, all that stuff is
Yep. And
different
like
when you get into
offensively,
that.
you're just handing off and running between the tackles. That's not running the Notre Dame offense. And not we would all, but many people out there, if Notre Dame's up by 3 or 4 touchdowns, don't want Notre Dame to run their offense. They just want to run the clock and get things over with. That's not giving guys good experience. You and I can run out there. I could run out there and be a wide receiver for Notre Dame when they're handing off the ball and running between the tackles, because you just kind of jog out there, put your hand on the DB and whatever. It's junk. That's not getting guys game reps. That's not what that is at all.
Yeah. Fill in the blank. It's blank that Kim Mulkey won the women's basketball national championship at LSU in her second season. Jay Johnson just led LSU baseball to a national championship in his second season. And Bryan Kelly is going into his second season now at LSU.
It's going to be another bout of disappointment for the Tiger fans down in the boot is what it's going to be. I'm not predicting Bryan Kelly to win a national championship down there. If he gets into even if he gets into the playoff, that would be huge. That would be big. I would be very impressed, honestly, depending on how the season played out and all of that. I just don't see them winning a national championship. And if that's the expectation, which I'm sure it is down there, he's going to fall short.
That schedule just is not an overly tough schedule that they have this year. Like next year, the degree of difficulty goes up. We've talked about what it looks like when you add Texas and Oklahoma and all that stuff. But, I know a lot of people are getting worried. Really the biggest hurdle that LSU has to clear this year: Florida State, Alabama, Texas A&M. Like that's the big three. And they were able to clear 2 out of the 3 last year. But 1 year's success does not, automatically, like, crazy things can happen. There are much higher expectations for Bryan Kelly in year 2 after winning the division last year. And we were just talking about basketball, and having these questions back to back made me think of, you remember Frank Martin, the South Carolina basketball coach, who was like so quotable and, all the different stuff. And remember, they went to the Final Four, but back in 2017? Well, that was not only the only Final Four that Frank Martin led South Carolina to, it was the only NCAA tournament Frank Martin led South Carolina to. Then he got fired 5 years later, because they went downhill. So, I mean, again, there's going to be high expectations for Bryan Kelly down there, but just because they had a good year last year, give him credit, because with what he inherited a total mess. They got some key transfers. They won their division last year, but that doesn't automatically mean it's going to happen this year. As we all know, like, duplicating things, especially down there in the SEC, is not an easy task.
Right. So, this is what he signed up for, though. He wanted the SEC, the best of the best, supposedly. So this is what you wanted. And, I mean, he's going to have tough games against Florida State. I think he's got a possibility of having a tough game against Ole Miss. We'll see what our boy, the Lane Train, can do. But then it's Alabama, maybe Florida if they get their ducks in a row, but that's home for LSU. And then, of course, you've got A&M, which is also a home game for LSU. So you're right. Things line up pretty nicely for them. But I can always count on Bryan Kelly to screw something up. So that's where I'm at.
See, and that's what you got going for this way. You can't expect anything, right?
Yep.
So the NCAA has made some changes to the National Letter of Intent system. Players can now get an immediate release if they request it due to a head coaching change. They can also leave their school without penalty if they leave after 1 academic semester. Do you buy or sell these changes?
So leave without penalty. Can you explain that to me? Because they can always leave without penalty.
The old penalty was loss of a season of competition and a required 1 year of enrollment at the school the player transferred to if the school that you originally committed to does not release your NLI.
But kids are
I'm like,
transferring all the time. I don't understand, like, and they get immediate eligibility. So I feel like that I have no problem with getting out of the NLI if there's a coaching change. I have
right,
no problem with that whatsoever. I think that should have been that should have happened a long time ago.
right.
The transferring after one academic semester, if a guy is a June enrollee and one academic semester is a whole first season, guys transfer after the whole first season all the time.
I don't know.
And they don't have to sit out. You know what I mean? So
I'm a
like
little
that
confused
part
by the wording
confuses
as
me.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the bigger one is, I guess, basically, if you're an incoming guy, you haven't played there yet, you've signed a national letter of intent, but there's a head coaching change, then you can leave without penalty.
Love that.
Basically,
I love
you
it.
can transfer without penalty. I've got no problem with that.
Yep.
Either.
I have
I
no
think that's
problem
the
with that.
biggest thing. Yeah. All right. Couple of other questions here. I guess I've got here. Derek, with Taylor Swift getting $8,000 for tickets, what musical artist or group would you pay the most to see?
Well, I mean,
probably asking the wrong person in Vince.
Yeah, I was just going to say, first of all, I do know that Taylor Swift is not getting $8,000 for all the tickets that are in the stadium. The VIP ones and things like that, sure. But you could say that about a lot of groups out there. So, but whatever. I would not pay a dime to see anybody. So that this question does not work for me in any way. So you are the music guy, so I will throw it to you. That's this.
All right.
Throw it to you.
There's really only two for me, and I saw Tommy Guns ask this question as well. Just noticed the tattoo on Sean's arm. That is Thunder Road. That is a Bruce Springsteen song, and Springsteen would be at the top. My wife shelled out a lot of money for Christmas for us to go to the concert back in Cleveland a couple months back. Springsteen and Foo Fighters. That would be it. Those would be the two at the top of my list. So
nice.
Yeah.
I love there's music I love to listen to and things of that nature, but I'm just not not a music guy, I am an old man when it comes to that kind of stuff. We got tickets.
Very true.
We got tickets to go see a country artist recently last summer. And I mistakenly bought tickets in the pit. Now, when I've gone to see like plays or musicals, things like that, pit seats are good. That means you're literally sitting where the normal people that play the music are, like the pit. Like you're up front. It's a good seat right there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, apparently concerts, that's not the case. You have to stand up and you're literally in a pit of people.
That's right.
It was horrible. It was horrible. I hated every second of it.
I did that a couple times. The biggest pit when I was in Germany, we saw REM, and now this has been like 30 years ago, and it was like you start moving around, and you're like it wasn't like a total mosh, but
no, it wasn't a mosh pit or anything.
There's a crush of humanity in there.
Yes,
let's put it that way.
And if you move, you lose your spot, and then of course you and I are vertically challenged, and no shocker, there's like a 6'5" guy like standing right in front of me. It was not enjoyable at all.
Friend of mine who I would go to the concerts with, there was kind of a group of us, but one of them was like, we had to get there early. So like for that one in particular, we were like probably, 3 people away from the stage, that kind of thing. We saw,
nice.
I think it was the same place, Living Color. Remember them, like Cult of Personality, that song? We saw them as well. And it was like, same deal, really close, that kind of thing. Like that was when Corey Glover was wearing, you remember like the bodysuit? Like if you ever saw that video, you're kind of young. So yeah, you might Google Living Color Cult of Personality, the bodysuit that Corey Glover, the lead singer, wore. He was like, it was sweaty and he was wearing the body, like the surfer bodysuit kind of thing. Yeah.
I'm looking it up.
one more question. One more question tonight, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay. What do we got?
Levi's 501 jeans turns 150 this year. Have you ever been a 501s jeans guy?
No. I have never been a name brand anything guy. Because that, again.
So you've never worn Levi's?
Maybe on accident.
Okay.
Like, no, I've never purposely bought a pair of jeans for the brand. I buy the jeans that are on sale, my buddy. I don't even know what I'm wearing. I'm wearing jeans right now. I have no idea what the brand is. It's whatever my wife bought me.
I believe it.
Yeah.
So all your name brand is like the uppers, not the lowers.
And it's all free.
It's very true. That's what I was 501, like 501s are the strength to fits, and again, I guess you wouldn't even know what it is since you've never been like all through like high school.
Yeah.
Basically. That's basically all I owned was 501s. And then, they were like the button fly. And then, like at some point the crotch would rip out, that kind of stuff. And then my father-in-law had this scam. Apparently Levi's had some kind of guarantee that I didn't know about back in high school, but like if they ripped, they were there was like a lifetime guarantee. You could mail them in and they'd send you a new pair. Yeah. So maybe you should start buying Levi's and do that because so they would like mail them in and like they would mail them in. And so my mother-in-law, would mail them in there, and then he'd have another pair that would rip, and my wife would mail them in for him because you only get like so many pairs or something like that, I guess. But yeah, that used to be all we wore was the good old 501s.
See, and the other problem was when I was in high school, and grade school, we had dress code, no jeans. So I didn't have a whole lot of jeans.
You went to Catholic school. I forgot about that.
You had to pay to wear jeans at my school, and it was like once every couple of months. It's a jeans day. So my jeans didn't get a whole lot of workout,
Interesting.
I was a Dockers guy. I was wearing my Dockers.
Well, again, I've got a few other questions that we're not going to use today, but I'm going to save them up because I like some of them and with rapid fire over the next couple of days. By the way, got an Alabama reporter who's going to join me tomorrow. Nice. And we'll talk about our old friends Tommy Reese and Tyler Buckner.
Oh, that's right.
As well as some other Alabama outlook for Nick Saban and all that kind of good stuff. So
I'm interested to hear what he has to say about the quarterback race.
Yeah, and that's what I want to. One of the things that I want to talk to him about is where Tyler Buckner stands in that quarterback race. So we're going to do that on tomorrow's show at 6:00, and then Jesse will be in after that for rapid fire as well. So
I got to remember the bell for Friday. Friday.
Bring it. 3-man, got to have the bell. All right. Appreciate it. Great questions once again on today's show, and look forward to more tomorrow. Again, join us 6:00 live. Alabama. Mark Heim will be Alabama reporter. Mark Heim will be joining us. So we will talk to you then. Smash the like button on your way out, and of course, subscribe, rate, and review. And we will talk to you tomorrow on IB Nation Sports Talk.